Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 7:00 p.m. This is the regular monthly board meeting being held on October 15th, 2020. We have a quorum with all board members present, with the exception of Ms. Williams. Please join me in a moment of silence to observe as you feel appropriate. Thank you. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. The next item on the agenda is public comment.
Introductions.
Oh, okay. I don't have that on mine. Okay, are there any introductions?
There are. We have one, Madam President.
Good evening. Tonight I'd like to introduce you to our new Director of Career and Technology, Dr. Casey Lazar. Casey is a May 2009 graduate of Louisiana Tech University with a bachelor's degree in mathematics education. She received her master's in 2013 in educational leadership from the University of Houston, Victoria. She received her doctorate in 2020 in educational leadership from Sam Houston State University. Dr. Lazar has 11 years of experience in education, including 6 years of teaching experience, 1 year as an instructional coordinator, and 4 years as an assistant principal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Feel our warmth.
Okay. So now the next item on the agenda is public comment. Ms. Fossick, are there any public comments?
Yes, Madam Chairman. If you wish to address the board, you must fill out a card and submit it before the presiding officer calls the meeting to order. While speakers generally have 5 minutes to address the board, the presiding officer may establish an overall time limit for public comment and adjust the time allotted to each speaker when necessary to accommodate a large number of speakers. However, no speaker shall be given less than 1 minute. While the board values hearing from members of the public, trustees may not respond to comments as they are prohibited by law from discussing or deciding on any subject that is not on the board's publicly noticed agenda. Speakers having complaints against individual district employees or trustees may only address the board after filing a complaint form and in the manner which provided for in applicable board policy, DGBA for employee complaints, FNG for student and parent complaints, and GF for public complaints. The presiding officer or designee shall determine whether a speaker has filed a complaint according to the policy. Any speakers who complain of individual district employees or trustees during public comment will be directed by the presiding officer to stop addressing the board and will refer the speaker to the appropriate complaint policy. As you come forward, please state your name and your address. Our first speaker is Matthew Tucker.
My name is Matthew Tucker, 826 Honeysuckle Vine Drive. I came here last month as a concerned parent from children on the Randall tract. I want to discuss zoning and the future of zoning here. I'd like to start off by pointing out that zoning is the most immediate and greatest impact a school board has on children. A decision should never be made unless you are certain it's what's best for all kids. I brought facts here to the last board meeting because I had the naive idea that the decision would be based on reason, data, and facts. I told my wife that night, I'll be home really late. They're going to be discussing this for hours. This is the biggest decision they'll make. I was shocked, sad, and confused when a map not recommended by the ABC committee, not seen by the public, and goes against the LCISD master principles of zoning, was approved unanimously after 20 minutes of discussion. I left the meeting disheartened and with so many questions. Today, instead of only focusing on facts, I want to discuss the process, which I believe is flawed and unfair. This lack of fairness and openness should invalidate the final decision or at least allow for a discussion on what happened to prevent this in future. zoning processes. So here's kind of a timeline of events I saw. The ABC committee from the start was overwhelmed by a nonstop email coalition from Bondbrook. This is the 24 maps that come out, just confusion. And this was from ABC committee members telling me this. August 3rd, final ABC meeting, new map, final map approved. This was, kind of going against those July 27th public comments, making some changes. This meeting evidently was kind of a mess. There was only 56% of the people there. There was not a lot of consistency there. The board admits that this last meeting was a complete mess, low attendance, confusing on August 20th. Yet this one meeting, that was, seemed like it wasn't basically, there wasn't followed the whole process all the way through. This one meeting will be the sole basis for the final approved map. On that same board meeting, August 20th, it's said by a board member that the real map that the ABC committee meant to choose on August 3rd was map 2.2. Then, seemingly, an improper motion was made to approve this map. Months of work by an ABC committee has come down to an opinion on what they thought that they might approve. Map 2.2, this map that will become the final map, was never seen by the public, never posted to the public in any way between August 20th and September 17th. Never posted by the district. Why no public comment? If we're gonna move 600 people, no public comment. 600 different students moved. No chance for community to speak up after possible huge changes. How is this fair? Some communities get to speak on July 27th, but no one after that. Why no demographer at any board meeting? Professional consultants are key in decisions like this. You are all intelligent people, right? But you are not demographers. You don't set a tax rate without consultants. You do not submit an audit without consultants. Why make this decision without professionals in the room? Why did we have to rush to approve this map, not seen by the public? What was so pressing in September that we could not wait for public comment? This was done with an absent board member and no demographer present. Why no public input? 2 days ago, you discussed the LCISD principles, right? And we talked about how proud we are of these principles, of these master plan principles. First principle, 2,000 maximum at high school. George Ranch will stay 23 to 2,400 going forward. That's not part of the principle. Ethnic balance. Under this map, Terry is one of the least diverse schools in all of the Houston area. Goes against the principle. Professional demographers gave you a map that met the LCISD principles because there was no agenda. You would not even discuss this map because you said public input is so important, yet you passed a map not seen by the public. No public input on that map. This was the decision that was not fair to the public or the taxpayers. This was the decision not based in data, facts, and reason. The loudest voice dictated the map. If you have any doubt or regret in the decision, there is still time to discuss and change. Do what's right, not what is easy. There were a whole bunch of people who were going to speak here today, but for work and other reasons, from Terry and George Ranch, they couldn't come. But I promise you, 3 tracks are upset about the zoning process, and I'm not the only one. And I think the biggest thing is we're given these principles, these are the principles, yet in the end, it's all based on a perception of what we thought was going to happen at the final meeting. And I don't think that's fair to anyone. I wish I wasn't so passionate about it. I wish I never watched the meeting and I could be calm, but I am passionate about it. Thank you for your time. I know your job is difficult.
Thank you.
Jason Kalunga.
Jason Kalunga, 8415 Cloverleaf. I came today to voice my frustrations with the zoning process and to implore you to build a process that is more transparent in case the bond that's up for vote right now gets approved in the upcoming election. I personally lost faith in the process when I went to the public input meeting, causing me to vote against Section A of the LCISD bond this morning. While I appreciate the thought of the ABC committee, that process favored one demographic, and from what I heard in these meetings and from other members, it was charged by very backwards ideas. At that point, the board made the right choice by voting it out, but not in a way that was transparent. At the meeting 2 months ago, a board member made a vote for option 2.2. instead of the meeting agenda being modified, which is what should have happened. I think the board at this point chose not to accept the ABC option, which, by the way, was a great choice. ABC option was not great. What should have happened at that point, the LCISD option should have been, LCISD website should have been updated with option 2.2. And a mailer saying, hey, option 2.2 is now the front runner, not the ABC committee option. So that way others could have voiced their concern if they had a problem with option 2.2. What was taught to our community is that if you complain hard enough, the board will go back on their plans of giving George Ranch High School the help that was the original reason why Randall's bond was approved, to give George Ranch support. I'm now very concerned that voters, like myself, will not vote on Section A and vote no against it because the new school won't get the help, potentially won't get the help for the north side that it's originally for. And one community will get the help, would get the school that they want, just like what happened at George Ranch and Bondbrook. When a new committee is made, ensure it's diverse. Ensure the meeting is streamed. Set rules that if a map gets approved, it's done. Last map, everybody said, well, 2.2 got approved, but not enough people, blah, blah, blah. Just, hey, at 50%, it's done. And as board members, stick to the board rules and know the rules to avoid confusion of what the correct process is for approving a change in the agenda and then approving a motion that was not on the agenda. Be transparent with the people that you serve, or others may feel like me and lose faith in LCISD and send their kids to private school. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all, Madam Chairman.
Okay. The next item is approval of minutes. We need to approve the minutes for September 15th, 2020 special meeting and September 17th, 2020 regular board meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion, please.
Okay, Ms. Danziger makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the corrected one that we put in, correct?
Mhm.
Just want to have that on the record.
I guess any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. None, the motion carries. Are there any board member reports?
Yes, I'm got some updates from our facilities committee. We have not had the COVID not been meeting, but I've been keeping in contact. So I'd like to give some talking points tonight. Of the bond 2014 Tamaron Elementary School, the final payment recommendation is scheduled for the November board agenda. For bond 2017 ALC addition and renovations, 1621 and Alternative Learning Center academic wing construction is in progress. Jane Long Historical Gym renovations, construction is in progress. Transportation fuel tank replacement, underground tank removal will begin October 19th. Terry High School and George Junior High School additions and renovations, earthwork, storm installation, and site utilities for additions are in progress. Lamar Consolidated High School and Lamar Junior High School additions and renovations. High school new administration area will be operational after winter break. Large group instruction and band hall addition construction is in progress. Junior high choir orchestra steel is complete and parent drop-off is in progress. The multi-campus carpet replacement final payment recommendations on the October board agenda. Multi-campus improvements and HVAC controls upgrades, final payment and recommendation is scheduled for the December board meeting. Multi-purpose space high school and orchestra middle school additions, Westendorf Orchestra and Fulsher multi-purpose room construction is in progress. Dr. Thomas E. Randall High School and Harry Wright Junior High School construction is 80% complete. Projects on schedule for schools to open August 2021. Trailer Stadium Press Box contractor is completing final detail work. Final payment recommendation is scheduled for the December board meeting. And Fletcher Morgan Jr. Elementary School contractor has been released to raise the site to be required elevation. And if anyone hasn't seen the Trailer Stadium press box, it's impressive. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
I was designated as the delegate for the TASB convention that's held in person in Dallas normally, but it was held virtually this time. And I was able to watch several sessions over Thursday to Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And then they had a delegate assembly that was Saturday afternoon, so I was at my house watching, and it was very, surprisingly, there was very few technical problems, and it went relatively smooth, and it was very nice. I was texting Mr. Hunt, who was the alternate for that, and we were communicating a little bit as we watched the conference online, so.
Great.
I felt like the conference was very good and the sessions were excellent. So kudos.
Great job. Okay, Dr. Randall, is there a superintendent report?
Only one report, and we will probably do an information item a little bit later, but we had a visit from Energy for Schools. This is the group that we partner with for getting reduced price in electrical cost. Their board met and made the decision that during these challenging times, they wanted to donate money to the school districts to support them. And they brought a check for $150,000 by
Wow.
today.
Wow.
And Jill just couldn't wait to get to the bank with it. But it just goes to show the
hot little-
support and the partnerships that we have with the people that we work with.
That's
Companies.
great, great news. Okay, at this time, we will establish a consent agenda. The board creates a consent agenda, which are items the board members feel there is no need for further discussion. So I will go through, y'all stop me if there's one you want to talk about. Let's see, 8A1, 2,
I'd like to pull one.
1. Okay, 8A2, 3, 4,
I'll pull 4.
4. 8A5, 8B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll come back, we'll approve that, we'll just come back. Let's see, 8B8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And, let's see, 8C1, 8D1, 8D2, and, let's see, we don't go through the information, that's it. So, let's see, the consent agenda will be 8A2, 3, no. Is that not right?
You're right. No, I'm sorry. I'm over here just.
8A2, 3, and 5. 8B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 8C1, and 8D1 and 2. It's a big one. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Welch, do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Kaminsky,
Who gave the motion, I'm sorry?
Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Okay, so Ms. Danziger, will you read our resolution on page 78?
Yes, this is for Parent Involvement Week. Whereas parent and family involvement in the lives of children is critical to their success, and whereas extensive research has shown parental involvement in education increases the likelihood of student success, and it's critical to students achieving high levels of academic achievement and performance. And whereas the objectives of Parent Involvement Week are to promote a greater knowledge of the efforts being made in the district to encourage parental involvement in education, to provide a greater awareness of the parent-family involvement activities and resources that are available to parents and families of school-age children, and to promote a greater understanding of the responsibilities shared by parents, schools, and the community to ensure high school achievement. And whereas Parent Involvement Week will bring greater awareness of the importance of parent and family involvement in the schools. Therefore, the Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declares the week of November 16th through 20th, 2020, to be Parent Involvement Week in Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted this 15th day of October 2020 by the Board of Trustees. And if there's ever a year that we need to say kudos to our parents and our families, it's this year, because we know how hard it's been, and we appreciate everything they're doing, whether in the school or at home.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, now we will go back to our items from the consent agenda. We have 8A1. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve. It's the district improvement
Yes.
plan and campus improvement plans.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the other night, we basically just went over the district's improvement plan and somehow missed the campus improvement plan. So, I guess I've been in this quite a long time, and I'm one of the crazy ones who tries to print out some of those reports. It took the district quite a long time, and we basically had 2 days, 3 days to go through it. But I've learned over time that if you just take a couple of the schools and use them as a comparison from last year and this year, and this year I had a hard problem trying to understand some of the schools, what their weaknesses and strengths were. And they used a program, it's called Plan for Learning. Is this the first time they've used it?
Yes, ma'am. It's actually a template for the campus improvement plan, so we could have some more consistency. It wasn't mandated for all schools, but there was a pilot of a number of campuses that chose to try it out.
Okay. Am I free to make a comment then on that plan? Last year, it was very easy to decipher if what schools were having some difficulties in certain areas, academically or even in behavior. And in this report, I don't know about anybody else, I could not find very easily what their issues were.
Okay.
So, and I noticed some of the schools used last year's. So I could take last year's report, and if they said, third graders would increase by 5% in their reading skills, and then I would look at the report they were expecting this year. It was very easy to understand. I don't know about any of you other board members. I asked, I think last year or the year before, if a third grader is not producing very well, they're very down at the level, and it says they need improvement in their third grade.
Mm-hmm.
How are we following those students? Because if they take the test in the 5th grade, is it?
Fourth grade, and
Fourth?
it depends upon the test.
Okay.
So if you're looking at reading, they would take it in fourth grade as well, and fifth
Because
grade.
I've noticed there's in the elementary, and I'm not going to name the schools, but I just took, in my area, 3 elementary schools, and they're all having issues with their reading and their writing skills.
Mhm.
And I wondered, how do we follow those particular ones that were tested? The next test, do we have a program that we can look at the particular kids who took the test and say, this school did improve? And we can tell that by the students that we looked at.
What you're asking me, I just want to clarify the
Okay.
question
Yeah,
is.
help me with the question.
Clarify the question is that, do we have one program that is, are you asking for about one program that is helping us identify those kids and determine how we can assist them to improve?
I think overall, the campus too.
Okay.
I think-
Yes. Oh,
No, go ahead.
yes, ma'am. There are the multiple data sets, and throughout your campus improvement plans, you will also see professional learning communities. And in professional learning communities, those are groups of teachers that are definitely looking, and part of that is determining data analysis of how kids are doing and what interventions or reteaching that needs to happen. When we start looking at, also you will find in your in the hand or the CIPs is a focus as well on MTSS and RTI. And again, that is a tier 1 level. You're going to be looking at, again, assistance at a tier 1 level with, which means direct instruction, first line instruction, with reteaching happening at the first teach. And then you would have a reteach based upon monitoring and assessing. The second tier would be helping and moving kids and supporting kids within the classroom. And some of our literacy coaches at the campuses also go in to classrooms and help through small group instruction. And then we also have tier 3 interventions, which is a total pull-out program. Throughout all of those series is that you are going to assess where kids are. Basically, what are they needing to learn? How do we know if they've learned it? And number 3 is what do we do if they don't, and what do they do if we do? And so we have a number of data points that are going to allow us to give the information to see if a kid is growing. And you want to utilize more of those, like we have universal screeners in reading and math every year, and we're doing that K through 8, or pre-K through 8th grade, to determine what the data set is at the beginning, and where they are at the middle of the year, and where they are at the end of the year. So it's a series of things. It's also, as principals look through that data at the end of the year, they're also looking and ensuring that kids are scheduled accordingly the next year. A lot of times, sometimes what they'll do is they will schedule a child who might have some learning difficulties with a very strong teacher or very tenured teacher that is going to support them at the maximum level.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example then too. Jane is in the third, is that their first test, 3rd grade?
Mhm.
I'm getting very mixed up on testing, but 3rd grade, okay. And we get the report, overall picture is that particular grade level, they were low in their testing. And so the goal was for the following year that they would improve by 5%.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that Jane is the one that's improving that 5%, or is that 5% just over the general class?
Both.
Okay.
You're going to have both data sets. You're going to have individual student reports also. TEA's done a really good job about that too, is presenting out to parents what the data that they're getting from the state assessments telling about their kids. So you're going to have individual data sets, and then you're going to have a school data set and broken down to a grade level, and then you can even break it down into different ethnicities as well.
Okay, so the parents can go ahead and follow their child and say, in the 3rd grade, they were having problem in the reading, and my gosh, 5th grade, they built it up, and then just keep on following.
Absolutely, yes.
As a parent. As a board, we basically are approving just an overall picture of the actual schools, how they're doing
Okay.
in reading and writing. So we're just looking over the schools. That's why I was looking at these individual schools, and some are saying, you know, we need help in this field, or we need help in that field. But under this Plan for Learning,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I needed somebody to explain that to me, because I didn't see where they said, here are some of our weaknesses, and this is what we're planning to do.
Okay.
I didn't
felt it
understand that part.
Weak on the comprehensive need assessment.
On the learning, the
The-
teaching and learning, I think is
Yes.
one.
Okay.
As an example, and I even did this at the high school level. And yes, I've got a lot of time on my hands. But I wanted to try to understand, at this one elementary, it said, in one of the, and I guess it's up to the principals how much information they give us. Because it gave it as an example, 2019 4th grade writing was at 48%, which was a 12% decline from the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got that information off of this principals, but not off of the other ones.
Mhm.
So this form, I was wondering, why weren't they all consistent? Why didn't we get the same information?
different templates. Again, we piloted the Plan for Learning, which puts a lot of the legal pieces that are required by the state of Texas in our campus improvement plans. Our campuses also had asked for, as well as the district, to have a consistency within that template. As far as I can tell you, with all of our campus improvement plans, the leadership team, myself, Dr. Maxwell, Ms. Marchena, Diane Parks, Dr. Asagi, and Ms. Mathis all review each and every one of the campus improvement plans. And what we do with the campus improvement plans is we have worked with the schools and continue to receive feedback through the year. We then provide them feedback to their campus improvement plans on things that we would want them to kind of maybe go a little deeper on as well, to provide some guidance based upon their performance. And so the reason that we're utilizing the Plan for Learning is the way that you can run reports to see consistencies, to look at strategies. There's a lot of positives in being able to utilize the same tool. And again, I believe, Dr. Maxwell, we were looking at 21 or 24, 21 campuses that we're utilizing it this year, and they requested to.
Okay.
Well, can I interject
Go
just
ahead.
something a minute? But when a campus goes and writes their campus improvement plan, it's tailored to what they particularly
Absolutely.
need.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
you really, when you start comparing them to other campus improvement plans, that's like apples to oranges, because not every campus is going to have the same needs. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
And these are working documents, so as they go
Mhm.
through the school year and they're seeing they're having issues, they can go in and update.
And we want them to, because the campus improvement plan is a blueprint at the very beginning. And as we continue to gather data throughout the year, we will have opportunities, normally in a quarter, to review the campus improvement plan to determine if we need to do any tweaks to that campus improvement plan, because again, it's just the part of value monitoring and assessing. Our campus improvement plans are specific to the campus. When we start looking at the district improvement plan, we're taking all the information of the campuses and the district as a whole. And then again, we have the strategic plan, the superintendent SMART goals, and then the district improvement plan follows that. We build strategies and improvement strategies on those particular issues. And then the campus plans also do the same thing. They're looking at key points of the district improvement plan, but also some of the specific things that are going on in their campus with their particular data and their particular populations.
Okay, I think what I'm asking for is more of, as a school board member, to have the accountability of these schools. And, okay, one said, I'll give you the example. One said that one of their achievements or goals was to increase the first, second, third, and above reading levels by 5%. That made sense to me, 5%. But then if I look at the other school with that new report, I don't know if I'm not reading it or not. I'm not seeing, it'll say the plan, it says improvement and growth of student reading skills. It doesn't seem like it's very neutral. I don't know if anybody else was understanding that.
There's not a number associated with it like in the other one. Is that what you're
Right, it's
saying?
very
Just
specific.
vague, yeah.
It's very specific in what their goals are. So if you'd ever want to go back and read it, I don't know if a parent could see this and understand it.
Go ahead, Doctor, just explain it.
Yeah.
Ms. Kay, and so they're set up just a little bit differently. So the terminology, as you're used to looking at the old version or the version that half of our campuses are
Which
using.
I've got 3 of them that
Yes.
use the
And
old
so
one.
you're looking and used to seeing goal, strategy, and then action. And then you
It's
see
weakness
those,
and
yes.
strength.
And so in the new template, they have goal 1. So the one that I'm looking at right now is students will demonstrate 7% growth within the student progress measure of the 2021 Reading Star. So at the top, it goes into goal 1, and it has a growth measure of how much they're going to grow in a specific area of reading on the STAR one. And then the performance objective below goes into more specifics. We'll be focusing on reporting category 1, ability to understand and analyze a variety of written text across reading genres with a mastery of 80 to 90% on the 2021 STAR. So basically, it has the information in there. The format is just set up a little bit differently, and the terminology is a little bit different on the new format. It took us a while with training to go through with our principals and their leadership teams to understand the little subtle differences in the terminology and the naming of different aspects. In the previous version, as Dr. Mossad said, it's a Word document, it's a template. And so it's right there, and it's hard for us to run reports to see what's going on across the district. With this one, it has the same elements in there. They may be named differently, but allows us as district officials and leaders to start having conversations. How are our campuses doing? Who is meeting those goals and objectives at mid-year? In the new system, campuses can actually go in and put information and data saying, this is where we are on this goal. And so then it's a trajectory of saying, how close are we to meeting it? In the old version, it's just a Word document. And so we can't see that formative assessments that happen throughout the year. So I can understand, because it is going to a new system with different terminology, but the same aspects are in both systems.
And I'm going to assume that those reviews, that it says November, February, April, and June, will we
Yep.
be getting any kind of reports on that?
So those reports go in. So the principals have to go in and show evidence of how their campuses are doing on their goals. Their assistant superintendents use that to have those middle of the year conferences with the principals to say, how are things going? What's going well? What's not going well? And then they make shifts, as Dr. Mossad said, and as Ms. Danziger said, they're living documents. So they make shifts of what's going well, what's not going well. But we can do updates for our campuses at that time. And if the board wants to see updates for those campuses at those times, they can be given. But like I said, it's much easier with the campuses that chose the pilot plan for learning because it's in the system. In the Word documents, now we're pulling together a bunch of data reports in different places to try to measure those. The plan for learning allows it in one.
The question is, what are we gonna do with the information once you see it? What kind of influence can you have on that? And as superintendent, I don't need to see all of those details, because I'm looking for, is that entire campus moving? Because I know that those kids are gonna fluctuate. There are gonna be some that'll be at one level and at other levels, and I depend on these guys to have that conversation with the principal. What do we need to do to help you to help them? And so from that vantage point, I think the board, when they're looking at the reports that they get, whether it's in the superintendent's update or whether it's in the final analysis, you get all of the scores at the end of the year to determine whether or not they met their goals. And then providing the support of, maybe there are policies that the board want to take a look at. Maybe you want to talk about a particular campus that was supposed to grow and didn't grow, and asked us, why did that occur? And then we can provide the information for you. Otherwise, you're looking at data that is moving. It's constantly moving. What you see this month may be totally different next month. And I don't know, how the board would want to use that type of information.
I just always thought of campus improvement plans as a way of making us, the campus itself, aware of where their weaknesses and strengths are. And to say, okay, these are the things that we need to work on, but let's not forget that we did really well here, so that we don't falling down on that. And because if you're in a campus that you might have made all in the 90s on you still have some improvement somewhere because you have some kids that are falling below, but so you want to make sure you bring those kids up. So I always found it was more of, let's make us all aware of where we are at the beginning and see how we're moving along. And I think all you're giving us is a snapshot of that and letting us see, look what the different campuses are working on this year. So, and I appreciate that. And
So if
you
we
could tell they did a really hard job getting those together.
So it's kind of a silly question, but if we did not approve this tonight, what would be the result? I mean,
We'd be
I
out of
mean, in other
compliance.
words, I'm kind of asking, why are we approving this? If the district, if the campus is going to have an improvement plan, and it's, all these details are going to be on that campus level, and for you folks,
Isn't that a requirement?
Brian, you want to speak to that? You just sitting back there, you just can't wait to tell them about it. Like your mask, by the way.
If you didn't approve it tonight, we would have to come back next month and ask you to approve it at that point, because the Texas Education Code requires that the Board of Trustees approve the district and campus improvement plans.
I see. Dr. Mossage a few minutes ago said this is a fluid document that will be tweaked along the way. So I will admit, you guys gave this to us about 5 or 6 days ago on a thumb drive. There's 44 PDFs, 1,300 pages in those PDFs. I did not, in addition to reading this in my family and work life, I did not read all 1,300 pages. I read the ones that were my neighborhood goes, to the elementary and the secondary. So I have 1 or 2 questions about secondary school. Ryan Middle School. It says, page 25, performance objective 1, teachers will make a minimum of 3 positive phone calls home before the end of each 6 weeks. So my wife used to be a public school teacher. My mom currently is. And I know teachers, and as a parent, it sounds great. I know the teachers have tons of work already just to do their basic job. So in addition to that, we're asking them to call home for every student at least 3 times a month to say something positive. That's what
Was it 3 times a month?
3 times a week.
I'm sorry, 3 times every 6 weeks.
Every
Every
6
weeks,
weeks.
yeah.
So, I think that the campus improvement plans are not done in isolation. They're done with a group of teacher leadership teams. And so, again, that is not a goal on every campus, but when a principal puts something like that on a campus improvement plan, what that shows is that there would be buy-in for that, and probably wanting to ensure that we have a positive culture of support. And so that is kind of the intent of that. But they're not done in isolation to where an administrator or an assistant principal would be the one, we're going to do this. That has to be reviewed by a leadership team and be vetted before it's final.
So how would that play out from the campus administration down to the teacher? Would they get a list of things that they're now required to do?
Well, again, is that the leadership team, a lot of you will have department chairs, you have literacy coaches, you have assistant principals and principals, and the team of such, and the site-based management team at a school has to look at the campus improvement plan and continue throughout the year, which would have parents, teachers, community, and all of those who are approving those actions. And so, again, the buy-in, each campus is going to put strategies that they feel that they can move forward with, and they have the buy-in to do it.
I think that at the beginning of the year, the principal will typically tell the staff, this is what we're gonna focus on this year. And the staff has an opportunity to interact and say, okay, all right, we can do that, or we can't. And that's what they do at the very beginning, and everybody works toward their goal.
So I would assume if everything's going in a positive direction, by the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6 weeks, that 3 times each 6 weeks could be modified a little bit.
It's a living document, and so let's use the other end of that. So in 3 months, or the next time we look at it, and the teachers are going, or we're sitting down with the principals, and the principals are going, oh, we can't do this. COVID has occurred. We need to take this down. It's not going to happen. Then because it's a living document, we can make those necessary tweaks to the document. What they're doing is setting goals based upon the context of what they know currently right now, what they knew at the very beginning, or when they knew it when they turned it in October. Things will shift as far as grades or assessments that are taken as they continue to get more data in from their kids on how kids are doing. And they might have to pivot that. And those are the things that would be outlined in a campus improvement plan as you're continuing to kind of evaluate the work that's been done, what is working and what's not working. And so if that's not working, then they're going to have the freedom to make a tweak in that.
The next one I wanted to ask about was Reading Junior High strategy number 4. I think it was on page 10 of that PDF of that for that campus. It says, provide at-risk students with additional intervention resources and small group intervention tutoring before school, after school, and Saturdays. Are these teachers coming in, or are these tutors that have a
Could be both. It could be both.
And I would assume we're paying the teachers extra money, or are the parents paying them? How are they compensated?
The tutors would be compensated, and
By
teachers.
who?
By the school.
By the school?
Yeah, by the school budget, they would be. But teachers do morning tutorials, and they do afternoon tutorials, and then on Saturdays, sometimes they'll do Saturday camps. This is a normal kind of process that any kids that are struggling, that would be part of a tier 2 or tier 1 to receive additional help, whether it's in the morning and then the afternoon, could be at lunch sometimes, or a Saturday. Not that there would be teachers every day, morning, lunch, and after school, and a Saturday doing tutoring. But those times will be utilized to tutor kids to help kids that are struggling currently.
So,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
A couple of more. We used 2 different documents this year, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the newest one, you said it's ongoing, easier to keep records. The old version, is that slowing y'all down then? Are y'all having to use both means?
We're using both of those because we're using them right now because, again, as we moved into COVID this past spring, we were looking at implementation, but we paused on that implementation because of this situation. But our principals kind of said that they wanted to participate. There were the 21 campuses. And so the other form, depending upon how this pilot goes with Plan for Learning, and from the principal perspective, then we will be making the determination if we're going to move forward with that document across the all of the campuses. Now, it populates automatically some of the legal parameters or expectations from the state of Texas in Plan for Learning. And it does provide us some ability within that plan to be able to continue to document inside of that, as opposed that everybody can see when those changes are made. With it, it's a little bit more difficult sometimes in the Word document. So if I look at one elementary school and we want to make a copy of Plan for Learning and we want to go, this is how many strategies do they have? Well, it will print out every strategy a campus is utilizing. Without that in a Word document, we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to count. Well, how many strategies are they using? And so, yes, it is an ease and comfort for us as far as helping and assisting our campuses.
Okay. If I have a concern, like I do have, there's a few elementary schools here that I put down needs help, just according to what I'm reading on this, and our 2 high schools. As a board member, I'd like to follow up. If they're needing help, I'd like to see that they're progressing. Is that part of the board's ability to do that?
Well, depending on how you're doing it, because you're getting close to day-to-day operational types of stuff.
That's what I was wondering about.
But if you're asking questions that you're seeking answers to, we can certainly, work with you in trying to provide that information. What you're dealing with is a change in the process. And is it slowing us down? The answer to that is really the campuses that are using the older model and the ones that are using, they're not doing it in both. They're doing it in one or the other. Mm-hmm. So they're still moving forward. But we can spend some time trying to help perhaps you to have a better understanding of exactly how that works. And that may answer your questions.
Well, I know sometimes, we say, there's elementary school that we know is not quite doing what, they're not up to par for various reasons. And we're never aware of that. As a board, we don't hear that until it's all over and done with. And then find out that this school was not performing at its best. So I guess I'm just trying to say that from last year to this year, as far as what schools, I
sounds
was
like
keeping record.
you're looking for a progress report mid-year or every quarter or something.
Accountability
Sounds
for, yeah. If that was in the realm of as a board member to say, like in my district, I have 2 schools here that are they need help, and I'm concerned about them. You're saying, though, that is part, I'm going into their business, more or less.
Well, but during the course of the year, they may be here, but at the end of the year, how many, did we have any Ds last year? We didn't have any D campuses on the state accountability system. They were all As, Bs, and I think we had 3 Cs. So we had 3 campuses that had Cs. All the other campuses on the state accountability system had As and Bs. So as a board member, you might ask, okay, help us to understand why aren't these C campuses B or A campuses?
That's very
Because
nice.
where they started off at the beginning of the year and where they ended was very different. Now, COVID threw all of that away. And so a lot of what you're seeing now, we're concerned about the COVID slide and a lot of other things. You may not get exactly the same type of results if you take a snapshot now versus when teachers have a chance to work with the kids for the next 6 weeks or so.
And I think that when you see a campus has had a rough year, you go in and you're constantly reevaluating. They might not be as high maybe as another campus, but again, that's apples to oranges. You're trying to move that campus forward of what they need to do. And they, you know, you could have kids that were down here and now are up here. Maybe they're not way over here like another campus, but that's still, that campus has improved. It's an improvement plan. It's not a A-plus plan. So we just want to see growth of any kind. And I think that as a administration, that's what you want to see too.
Yes.
So that's why we as a board, they're giving us a snapshot of what they're going to be working on this year.
Staff can help Ms. Kaminsky with clarification. That may be helpful. Now, if you start telling them, I want you to do this, 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 and this.
No, I understand that.
No,
it was just, and I go back to way I started. For me, it was very difficult to figure out what, if they had any weaknesses or strengths. It's not spelled out as easily as last year's. And of some of the, I think it's what I had, there was two elementaries who did use the old-fashioned way, and I understood exactly where their issues were or what their concerns were. And then the other 2, using this new method, was very, what are you talking about? I see nothing about the weaknesses. I had to really study, and not having so much time to do that, that was my 2 cents.
We appreciate your
But
feedback, and we
yeah.
will take a look again, another look at
And
things.
I appreciate y'all's time.
that.
I don't say it enough, you know, I don't say it enough. I don't even do that to my own employees a lot of times. And say, I do appreciate all y'all's work, but not all board members, I've been here a long time too, and it's amazing what a change will do. And I had to ask those questions.
I understand. All
Okay,
right.
but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll go to 8A4. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve modifying the guidelines for UIL participation waiver in the 2020-21 secondary student handbook.
Nope.
Is that what we're
Aren't we
doing?
on 8?
A4?
4. That's it.
It's consider approval.
That's it.
Oh, that was it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Isn't that the
Sorry,
one you
that's it.
pulled?
Yes, okay, sorry. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. And discussion?
I didn't have anything really passionate either way. I was just kind of wanting to poll my fellow board members in public, since this is the first time I can talk to all of you at one time.
Okay.
Anybody have any thoughts to talk about or share?
I had to write it down because waivers to me, let me see if I can see how I put it down here so that I can make it make sense. Why I oppose the waivers just in general, to me waivers are like an exception to the rule. And I was trying to understand, and y'all try to explain this to me. If a student of regular classes receives 70 or below, they automatically cannot play their sports.
That is correct.
Okay, if you are in the AP class
And
or
let me
dual,
make sure,
It's
you
below
said 70 or below.
It's just
It would
below
be
70.
69
it's
or below.
69, because 70
So
is
if they-
considered a D.
If you have a 70 or higher, you are eligible to participate.
You are eligible.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so below 70,
That's correct.
okay.
And you are ineligible.
And as long as I can remember, D was not acceptable to anybody in my family. I mean, that, a D was a D. You had to bring it up before you could do anything. We didn't have AP classes. We didn't have dual courses, okay? My daughter was trying to explain to me last night about the AP and dual courses. What is the grade? And I'm just a high school graduate, so she said you had to add a 1.3
Oh, for your GPA.
to the level. So their grade, it would have to be a below 60 to be ineligible? Okay, can
No.
you explain that part to me?
Yes, so our advanced courses, pre-AP and also our dual credit courses, have a weighted GPA.
Okay, yes.
And the weighted GPA is due to the fact that those courses are more rigorous and they are challenging courses. So by that, they have an added GPA coefficient. So if a regular course would have a 1.0, then an advanced course could have a 1.2 GPA or 1.3, depending if it's a pre-AP or if it's an AP course. So it has that added coefficient due to the rigorous component of the course.
Okay. What is the lowest level that they have would make them ineligible to be able to play?
Currently. 69,
What-
so it's the same.
The grade would be a grade of a 69
So it's the same.
or lower.
Not below 69, but a grade of 69 or below.
69 or.
Yes, 69 and
Which we're
lower.
saying that that's a higher equivalent than it is to a regular student having 70.
No, so the grade is different from the GPA. The GPA is cumulative at the end of the course
Okay,
of what, depending on the grade that they make. So if they make an A, then they receive a GPA cumulatively of all of the courses that they've taken during that semester or that year. So that GPA is based on the cumulative coursework, or the individual course, depending on the final grade of the course, would have a GPA. So what we're talking about in terms of this waiver is for every grading period.
Right.
So that's grade-based, based on a particular grading period every 6 weeks.
How is a 60 different in an AP course, different in a regular course? Does it carry the same weight?
Yes, yes. So this a 60 in an AP course would be almost equivalent to about a 70-something in a regular course because of the weighted GPA, if that's what you're asking. So there is a different weight. So a 60 would almost be, if not higher than a 70-something in a regular course, because the 60 requires more work in a pre-AP or an advanced course than if you were taking it in a regular course.
Okay,
He said the same thing I was gonna say.
Okay.
I guess I misunderstood you the other night, that if a student had the below 60 in the advanced classes, that they were still eligible to play?
That's
If
what
they
we're
got
trying
the
to
waiver?
change.
That's what, yeah.
That's what we're
they're
trying to
changing.
change it
The
to.
We're
waiver-
trying to give them the waiver that they could play?
Yeah.
Because
The
that's-
UIL regulations are based on the number grade, not the GPA at the end of the course. So, to their point, at the end of the course, and correct me if I'm wrong, once their GPA is configured, they technically got a 70 due to the fact that the AP course has a higher rated GPA.
number.
What we're
I'm trying to
do.
figure out the equality to a regular student below 70, a D, and an AP student
Well,
at their
so
criteria.
But I
The AP
think-
courses they're not obligated to take the AP courses. It's not the base required courses for a student to take. They're taken voluntarily.
They made the choice.
Right, I mean, I'm having the same discussions with my own kid at home who's in AP courses now.
Uh-huh.
She is having difficulty with challenging herself and putting the effort in, but it's an option, it's not mandatory. So yes, so a kid that's struggling, to the point that was made on Tuesday night, if in the first 6 weeks a kid is struggling, there is direct communication between the teacher of the AP course and the parents and the child on whether or not that course is best suited for that child. Teachers are great, you know, they're wanting to challenge the child, and they encourage the children to stay in the course, because I think, to the point y'all made the other night, there is an adjustment when they first, that first 6 weeks, because there is so much more work involved with the AP courses than there is a regular course. So that made perfect sense to me, because I just went through it with my 7th grader who had an adjustment period in that first 6 weeks. So, I mean, that made perfect sense, that by this time they get to the second 6 weeks, once they kind of get in the groove and level out a little bit, get used to the workload, on top of my daughter, for example, who's first year of cross country, having to get used to the running and everything else, going to school at 6:30 in the morning, fixing to start their season. They have a lot of work with all these AP courses. So she's up, till 10, 11 o'clock at night, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be back at school at 6:30. So, I mean, it made perfect sense to me from a GPA standpoint at the end of the semester. Well, let me back up. So, from a 6 weeks grading period, there's 60 at the end of the semester, would average out to the same if the child was in a regular course and made a 70.
But all we're
Right.
being asked to do tonight is to align ourselves with what is going on in all the other school districts, because UIL and TEA have taken off the number, and just anything below 69, an AP student can get a waiver per 6 weeks. Am I correct? Is that what
Correct.
we're
Yes.
trying to
One
do?
of
We're
the-
trying to align ourselves with what is already being done.
And we began to do some analysis, and want to give you a number just to put this in perspective, is that when you look at 18-19, 19-20, and 20-21 of the first 6 weeks, let's just look at athletics. We wanted to look at a data set. We're really looking at, in 18-19, this is 1.5% of all of our athletes that have asked for a waiver. And so that was, out of 5,333 athletes, only 80 were asking for a waiver in 18-19. In 19-20, 5,781, but again, we have more population enrollment. We're looking at 99 and 1.7% of just the athletes. And just in the first 6 weeks, we have 4,793. We only have 15 requests, and it's less than 1% of our total population. One of the other things that is, I think the question was about credits. And so, so kids are not gaming the system, as I think there was a concern, is that UIL, in their credit rule, a kid going into the next year at 10th grade, they have to have 5 credits before they can begin sports. They have to have 10 at 11th grade and 15 at 12th. So a child cannot fail, and then continue to participate the next year, because credits are tied to that. And so UIL actually put that in here. And then when you look at, because UIL eligibility can, it says the number of credits earned or academic promotion from the previous grade level in grades 9 and below determines UIL eligibility for the 5th 6 weeks of next school year. So whatever they, at 6 weeks, the next year, but they have to have a certain number of credits, which answers, are kids going to take advantage of the system? The other aspect, and because we've talked a lot about UIL with athletics, but UIL is performing arts, it's ag, it's a lot. And so let's talk about a kid who is going to show a steer at a UIL type of activity. And so a kid gets a 69 and below in Lamar Consolidated, and they, current to our policy, if they've expended all of the things that we've allowed for, they wouldn't be able to show. However, Fort Bend and some of the other surrounding districts, because their policy is different, you might have 3 kids, 2 are somewhere else, they have a 69, they have a waiver, they can't show. And so there's inequity between the two and who they're competing against.
And that waiver is one time per semester, is that right?
It was,
It was.
Currently.
yes. Well, I mean, it is currently right now.
It's
That's what we're
another
requesting.
thing we're voting on tonight, is to
Right.
release that. But
To comply with what the state and our legal policy are stating, and what other surrounding districts are actually doing as well, so that our kids are facing the same opportunities as the other kids as well in all of our interscholastic league activities, academics, performing arts, and then athletics, because it's kind of a big name kind of thing. A lot of people think of UIL football.
Right.
It's more than that.
But I would think that maybe, just off the top of my head, that the first 6 weeks would be the worst, and it would get better because either one, you would find that child doesn't belong in that class, or 2, like Shebanek said, they got it together and they figured it out. So all we're trying to do is put everybody on the same even field to give them that opportunity and make sure the kids that we think need to be in the AP classes are in those classes, because
Yes.
those are the ones with the dual credit might be going off to college, and if they want to play in sports in college, they're going to need, because I do hear back that, you know, you have a wonderful football player, but they have them in tutorials trying to play sports because they don't have the strength in their courses from high school.
And again, our policy and acting of that, we're looking at the particularly 9th and 10th grade, because that is where it's being impacted the greatest, is because a lot of kids are choosing not to take some of those more challenging classes because they're active in a lot of different things. And so this will allow us to ensure that our pipeline into those advanced coursework, because it's harder and more challenging if you've not taken those introductory activities at 9th and 10th in participating at an AP level or dual credit.
How long have we been kind of not in sync with the other school districts? Has this been going on for a while, or is it been changed recently, or is that not?
It's been going on for a while.
Okay, so we need, okay.
Any more discussion? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, this completes, that was it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This completes the action items. Do we have any questions on any of the information items? Anyone? No? Yes? Okay, guess that's it. And we do have closed session, correct? Okay. It is now 8:08, and we are adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act, to discuss personnel, land acquisitions, or consultation with our attorney.
You dismissed?
Okay, we're now back in open session, and it is 8:54. Are there any motions to be made? No. Are there any future agenda items? Nope. Okay. Upcoming meetings or events? Boy, it's all quiet. Okay. Then the meeting is adjourned. It is 8:54.